Welcome back to Target Gender Equality Live. I hope you enjoy the amazing breakouts and the first mentorship sessions. Share what you learned in the chat and on Twitter, please, using the hashtag Target Gender Equality. We love the energy brought by DJ Tessa. Thank you. Let's keep it going. So now this morning we heard about the foundational women's empowerment principles and the impact from the Target Gender Equality Program. Now we will hear inspiring stories of women entrepreneurs from around the world to learn about their contribution to the SDGs, their obstacles they face, and how all organizations can engage and support women-led businesses. To lead us through this next session, please welcome Amanda Ellis. She is the Global Director for the Julianne Wingley Global Futures Lab at ASU. Amanda is a former New Zealand ambassador to the UN and the first woman to lead the New Zealand Development Agency. Amanda is co-chair of the We Empower UN SDG Challenge, launched by the UN Secretary General in 2018, and a great friend of the UN Global Compact. Take it away, Amanda.
Thank you, Lydia, and kia ora, and welcome from Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'm thrilled to be your moderator today for this exciting session on the power and potential of women's entrepreneurship. Also so excited that the first Target Gender Equality Live is taking place during the 65th Commission on the Status of Women. And as we heard from the UN Secretary General in the opening, the COVID crisis has a female face. We know that the pandemic has disproportionately impacted women, but we also know that women have pivoted to address the crisis in all sorts of innovative ways. As Melinda Gates says, women are not only victims of a broken world, but can be architects of a better one too. And women entrepreneurs are indeed changing the world for the better, from the COVID crisis to the climate crisis. Women-led businesses are demonstrating resilience, innovation, and commitment to sustainability and helping us create the world we want by 2030. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals would not be possible without the incredible work of women entrepreneurs all around the world. And yet, we know that there are still a range of obstacles. Over 1,600 laws globally, for example, still discriminate against women being able to do business in the same way as our male counterparts. And in only 10 countries is there fully legislated gender equality under the law, which means that as women, we have only something like 75% of the legal rights of men. So these obstacles make no economic sense, and they're just a few of those that women entrepreneurs have to overcome to fully target gender equality and achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. So I'm now delighted to introduce two incredible women entrepreneurs, one from Ghana and one from Jamaica. Matilda Payne Boache Ansa is the founder of Matilda Haute Couture and the co-founder of MY Extreme Decor in Ghana. Both are multi-award-winning, eco-friendly companies that recycle waste and use sustainable raw materials. I like to call it turning trash into treasure. Love that byline. And Matilda also provides 5% of her profits to underprivileged girls and works very closely with ITC, the International Trade Center, She Trades Commonwealth program. So Matilda, you're an amazing eco-warrior, and I'd love to invite you now to share your entrepreneurial journey with us.
Thank you, Amanda. I'm truly grateful. And thanks, everybody. My name is Matilda, as she said. And right from after university, I decided to set up my own business because I didn't want to work for anybody. And it took me 2 years to raise some funds to start my first business, MH Couture, because nobody understood where I was coming from and nobody was willing to give me funding because I was a woman. And so I set it up. And in 2012, I met my partner, Eric, who also believed in the empowerment of women. And we started our second company, Extreme Upcycle. And through that, we've been able to realize our dreams of finding alternative uses for waste in our environment. We basically recycle them into upcycled products through our theme, turning trash into treasures. We've been blessed to have showcased our products in many international platforms and locally as well. We started that in 2003 because that was the only way we would be able to tell the story behind what we were doing. We attended Abiante in Germany. We did New York Now in New York City. We did CIO and a couple of others. We also became the first Ghanaian talents to be discovered by Mr. Frankfurt in Abiante to be able to showcase in the talent section of the Abiante show in 2019, which was a great opportunity because we were able to tell our story and saying what we had innovated through waste to the world, and the response was amazing. We also have won a couple of awards. The most innovative award out of over 2,000 artisans in Burkina Faso. We also received an award from UNDP for our environmental practices. We also received another award from the Green Awards for our efforts at mitigating climate change. It's been an amazing journey, and we have also benefited from ITC programs and the UN Swiss Africa Green projects as well. I must say that we're working on so many of the SDGs because we believe in the empowerment of women and girls. We also believe that if we catch them young and we're able to guide them, they will become great future leaders. Therefore, through education, we provide mini libraries for each rural community classroom from primary to JHS with one computer and one mini library in each classroom. At the same time, we donate 2% of product sales from both companies to the education of young girls who are not able to afford their school fees. We also are supporting the gender equality by organizing career guidance and counseling sections for these young women in rural schools to help them make informed choices when it comes to careers. And at the same time, to be able to give them the confidence and believe in themselves that they can attain greater heights. We also support other projects such as tree planting exercises. We also support some women in communities that are cleaning their beaches and their streets by providing logistics for them. These women, we also give training on how they'll be able to turn that waste that they collect into businesses by selling them so they can make something to support themselves as well as their families as well. It's been an amazing
Thank you, Matilda. That's amazing. Just love the fact that you're paying it forward. You're not only an eco-warrior yourself and innovating, but you're also paying it forward for others, and love the education and the career guidance. Such important contributions. Thank you so much. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce VALRIE Grant from Jamaica, who is the MD and founder of Geotech Vision, providing spatial mapping solutions and edutech aid. I know you are a member of the World Geospatial Industry Council, and you also advise the UN. So VALRIE, you too are mentoring other women entrepreneurs and youth. So thank you for the incredible work you're doing. And you're our We Empower UN SDG Challenge 2020 winner also. So please, VALRIE, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Thanks, Amanda. It's a pleasure to be here. Well, I always say that I'm a geologist by training, a geospatial scientist by accident, and an entrepreneur by choice. So I worked in several government departments in lead management positions, and also private sector. And then I decided that, there was a gap. I saw something in the Caribbean where location was so important. It affects everything that we do. I recognize that it was about our community, it was about our business, our public agencies, day-to-day life. It was involved in things like our environmental management or resource management, climate change, all of those different things. And so I wanted to really do more and to provide a customized solution. And so we formed Geotech Vision in 2008. And back then, we were very focused on localized, customized solution using location intelligence. And in 2014, we added another vertical to it. That too came a little bit by accident because I was just sitting at home one day and I recognized that there was a child who had a very heavy backpack. And in carrying that backpack, I thought, there has to be something that technology can do. And so the idea of having technology in education came about. And so we had our education vertical. And since then, we created our own tablets. And we have been implementing them in schools across the region. And it was so timely because we were before our time in some ways, because when the COVID came, we recognized the value of something like that. So Geotech Vision had been very focused on making sure that we can address areas of inequality in both aspects of the work that we do. And when COVID rolled around, it was one of the times that we recognized that we could use our mapping to map digitally hurt communities. But not only could we do that, we were able to do something about it. Through our EduTech Aid initiative, we were able to give students who in underserved communities tablets so that they could keep learning, because everybody was forced into not learning practically overnight because of COVID. So our journey has been an interesting one.
Such an amazing, and so amazing that you've been able to pivot and really provide what was critical at this time. And I wish we could talk forever, but our time is running down. And I'm going to ask you both now to tell us about the challenges that you've faced in starting and growing your business. And you've talked a little bit about your COVID pivot. And how have you navigated those challenges? If you can tell us each 2 minutes each, starting with Matilda.
My biggest challenge was funding, access to funding, because no bank, no organization was ready to fund what we were doing. And so we had to find another way to raise money to be able to continue what we were doing. Luckily for us, because there are two companies, they support each other, and that's how we've been able to balance it through the years. Also acceptance in terms of the products, because people did not understand that we're trying to bring the waste back home into our environment in better forms. And so telling the story was the solution to it, and which sank in better, and then we got accepted. COVID hit us hard. And it's been a learning process, as I say. ITC has been very beneficial because taking the awareness and trainings that they had given had helped us to stay afloat. And through COVID, we have also landed our biggest ever order of a lifetime, as I put it, because it's a project that is ongoing for the next 5 years. And it's a lot of money. So that's on the positive side. I must say that because things have changed now and everybody's going digital, it's hard to catch on the digital craze now. But we're working on that thanks to some trainings that we have been through, thanks to ITC. At the same time, we're employing those that would help us to navigate this better as well. Yeah. So it's been an amazing
Thank you
journey.
so much. Yeah. And great to hear those challenges and how you've been able to address them. Valerie.
Yeah, so I mean, being in a male-dominated space and being one of the first women-owned and operated geospatial company in the Caribbean, we face a lot of gender biases, and so tech in general is male-dominated. We face both sexism and colorism in the region, but we've been able to navigate that when persons see what we have to offer, and we give our 150%. Then we keep getting repeat clients. Access to financing has been a challenge as well, because men are viewed as bigger risk takers. And even when we demonstrate our viability of the plan, sometimes we just don't get that support that we need. We've also faced some element of corporate bullying and large organizations using their power and privilege to really exploit. And so these are things that we have managed to navigate with the aid of mentors, with the aid of networks, and just being able to make tough decisions and calls. We also have the whole matter of policies that has bias towards big businesses that sometimes does not create the kind of environment that is hospitable to entrepreneurs. And during COVID, one of the challenges has been, remote work and the fluctuating economy and the unpredictability of the future and just leading a team through this prolonged crisis. But it has been interesting navigating those challenges and having the team at heart, making sure that they're taken care of in totality, including their mental health and otherwise, has been interesting. And the support, a supportive network, and just being able to know that you can't do it alone, but being able to call on allies and collaborating have been critical in helping us to navigate.
Thank you both so much, and congratulations on your leadership through a very difficult time. And as you said, Valerie, so important to have a supportive network. And we are now going to hear from representatives of three companies who really embody that kind of support for women entrepreneurs, from Mary Kay, from Coca-Cola, and from the Bank of Industry, Nigeria. So we're going to ask them now to join the conversation with you both. So welcome to Deborah Gibbins, the COO of Mary Kay, to Nora Odweso, the Senior Director for Social Impact at Coca-Cola, and to OLUKAYODE PITAN, who is the Managing Director and CEO of the Bank of Industry in Nigeria. Deborah, I'm going to turn to you first. Now, Mary Kay is in 40 countries. It's a multi-billion-dollar business, and you have a huge job. You're leading global supply chains, research and development, finance, public affairs, and strategic planning. But you have really made it a priority to support women entrepreneurs, not only inside the company, but outside the company. And we want to thank you for being a lead partner for the We Empower UN SDG Challenge and for the great new initiative that Mary Kay launched with 6 UN agencies, the Women's Entrepreneurship Accelerator. So we're very much looking forward to hearing more about Mary Kay and your global role.
Well, thank you so much. I'm sorry for any technical difficulties we have, but I'm Deborah Gibbins. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Financial Officer of Mary Kay, Inc., a global beauty company in the direct selling space. And we're so excited to be a part of this panel today. Entrepreneurship and professional and personal growth has been a part of Mary Kay. It's our mission. It's why we were founded. If I can take you back to 1963, we were founded by a woman named Mary Kay Ash, and she was a single mother of 3 children. And she founded her company on the idea that empowered women empower women. And she had been working for years. And when I listen to the stories of Matilda and Valerie, it makes me think about Mary Kay Ash and her mantra in terms of empowering women. And when you have the power of gender applied to issues like technology and climate, anything's possible. As I said, Mary Kay Ash was a successful businesswoman. She'd worked for many years, but been passed over by men. She would train men. She was great in sales, but she kept getting passed over, not because she couldn't do the job, but because she was a woman. And so she decided to leave corporate America at the time and started her own company. And she knew that she had value. And if she could remove the barriers that were placed in front of her, she could make herself, her business successful, and other women successful. And she took an approach of providing women with education, training, mentoring, and celebrating successes. And she focused on those tools for developing women as business people and entrepreneurs. And so 57 years later, we're focused on the same thing. Our mission hasn't changed. We're here to help women be successful in business. And we're excited to be a part of the Women Entrepreneurs, be a signatory to the Women Entrepreneurship principles and support UN Women and UN Global Compact. And 2 years ago, we took that commitment even further and decided to create something called the Women's Entrepreneurship Accelerator in partnership with several UN agencies.
Fantastic. I love that. Empowered women empower women. Thank you so much for the incredible work that you and Mary Kay are doing. So I'm now delighted we're going to move to our male ally. And there's an ASU connection here, Olu. I see you're a Thunderbird alum. So congratulations. And thank you for the wonderful work that the Bank of Industry in Nigeria is doing. You are the largest and oldest development finance institution in Nigeria. And we've heard from our entrepreneurs how important access to finance is. I understand, too, there's a $42 billion gender financing gap between men and women in Africa. So you have started a gender business desk, and I know a fund with the African Development Bank. So we'd love to hear more about the work that you are leading, and thank you for being such an important male ally.
Thank you very much. And thank you for inviting me. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, hear you perfectly.
Okay, thank you very much. Like you said, Bank of Industry is the largest and oldest DFI in Nigeria. We have realized that women are more like...
Thank you. I'll come to her next.
No. In terms of the number of small businesses in the country, registered ones, there are about 41.5 million medium and small medium enterprises in Nigeria. Interestingly, about 48.6 of these businesses are owned by women. But that is just one part of the statistics. If you break it further down, you will find out that most of these businesses owned by women are small. On the average, the asset size of these companies is about $13,000. Employees, less than 10. And they have major challenges in accessing capital. Because they are women. Even the gap between the male-owned businesses and the female-owned businesses are in billions in terms of the gender financing gap. So what have we done in Bank of Industry to encourage the women? In 2015, we set up a gender desk, basically to cater for women-managed and women-owned businesses. Since 2015, when that desk was set up, we have disbursed over 100 billion naira, roughly about $265 million, to over 400 female-led enterprises. Also, to help them have access to financing, usually sometimes they don't know how to apply or how to package their requests. We also have what we call business development managers that we actually pay, BDSPs, business development, processors that we have. The bank pays them and they help them put their packages together. Like you mentioned, we also working on AFAWA to ensure there is more financing for the women. Another initiative that we have that is ongoing now is the BRAVE program that we are working with the Islamic Development Bank. This program is actually targeted at ensuring capacity building and grant matching finance for women. over 600 women and entrepreneurs would benefit from that program. And there are other programs of government, which we call the Government Enterprise Empowerment Program, GIB, whereby over $100 million has been disbursed to 2.4 million beneficiaries. And then there's Alitia Fund. Alitia Fund is a fund that is catered towards financing women-led enterprises. And the fund was supposed to be about $100 million. We also invested $10 million to join as part of the co-financiers of that fund to help the women-led businesses. These are some of the things that we are doing in Bank of Industry. Thank you.
Olu, that's amazing. That was a wonderful suite of support activities. And in a previous life, I was National Manager for Women in Business at Westpac Banking Corporation. So I really resonated with your comment about women-owned businesses being smaller for so many extraneous reasons. And the fact that your bank is stepping up and really being able to help and support them overcome that means that there's an enormous opportunity for growth, which of course is brilliant, not only for the women-owned businesses and your bank, but for the economy as a whole. So thank you so much for that important intervention. Nora, coming back to you now and wanting to hear from you about the wonderful work that Coca-Cola is doing globally. And I'm especially excited about the 5x20 initiative. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Amanda. And I'm really excited to be here with you, really inspired by the stories that we've heard from the powerful and courageous women entrepreneurs. But first off, I'd like to start off by saying that we believe at the Coca-Cola Company that women represent the greatest untapped source of economic opportunity around the world. And within our world as the Coca-Cola Company, not only are women critical to the success of our business, but they're also critical to the success of and prosperity of the communities that we proudly serve. And it's for this reason that the Coca-Cola Company placed the economic empowerment of women at the center of its business efforts as a company and also at the center of our global sustainability agenda. And in 2010, we set ourselves a very audacious and ambitious goal to enable the economic empowerment of 5 million women entrepreneurs across our value chain by the end of 2020. This was aligned to the UN's then Millennium Development Goals. And we felt that because women are at the heart of our business and women are at the heart of providing solutions to global challenges that face the world today, we believe that we were on the right track. And today, as of the end of 2020, we're really excited, we're really proud that together with the countless of partners that we have worked with over the last decade, that we have been able to enable the economic empowerment of over 6 million women around the world, around at least 100 countries, implementing, partnering, and working across 318 diverse programs that are locally relevant as well as globally relevant. So this is something that really excites us. The other thing that really excites us is because at that point in time, we were amongst the first private sector entities to announce a goal of this magnitude, aligning ourselves to the UN's then Millennium Development Goals, and then later signing up to the Women's Empowerment Principles. So a really exciting outcome for us. And we believe that entities that are geared, that work towards women economic empowerment are truly on the right track, because we're looking at a demographic that cannot be ignored. We're looking at a demographic that performs about 66% of the world's work, a demographic that produces about 50% of the world's food. But at the same time, the paradox we see here is a demographic that only earns 10% of the world's income. And we felt as a company that there is no better way to support business efforts by unlocking the economic empowerment of women. And here we are today. Thank you.
Fantastic. And you're so right. Women are really at the heart of the global challenges we face today. And those statistics really shine a spotlight on the disparity between the work that women are doing and the access that women have. So thank you all to the 3 companies that are doing so much to really provide a supportive ecosystem for women entrepreneurs. I'd like to turn back now to Matilda and Valerie as our 2 entrepreneurs to hear their reflections on your presentations and how the work that you are doing can really help support this critical ecosystem. So Matilda, turning to you first.
My statement is for DEBORAH, and I must commend Mary Kay for the great example that they have set. I would like to find out, could we collaborate with you to help even more women achieve their best potential? If that's possible, I would reach out to you later and then we can take it from there, if that's possible.
Okay. Valerie.
Okay, so all the presentations were so amazing. I really applaud Ulu for being a he for she, speaking about the gender business and all that they're doing through their Brave initiative and everything else. I really liked how Nora put the economic empowerment of women. And if that's something that I've been thinking about, how can we do economic empowerment for women of the Caribbean, and making sure that those principles are adhered to? How can we reach 100,000 women with this? And this is something that I would really like to discuss further, especially in the spirit of the fact that it was International Women's Day last week. We choose the challenge. And I think we want to choose the challenge that status quo and really empower women across the Caribbean.
Great. Thank you. And I wanted to say too, with Olu, just how enlightened it is to have a gender desk. So to actually recognize the additional challenges that women face, which were laid out so well by Valerie and by Matilda, the gender bias, the policy issues, education and training, mentoring, but most importantly, access to finance. And so thank you very much too for the work that you are leading in Nigeria to really make sure that women do have access to finance. Now, I'm going to come back to Deborah to talk a little more about the work that Mary Kay is doing and to tell us about how she thinks that we can take forward this work with a call to action. And love to hear more about how you feel the Women's Entrepreneurship Accelerator has been working. It's no mean feat to partner with 6 UN agencies. Often one is enough, but 6 is very impressive. So love to hear more from you about how you think that the Women Entrepreneurship Accelerator and perhaps some of the policy work that you're doing can be a real call to action.
Sure. And that ties into Matilda's question to me, but how we can participate. And I think that this Women's Entrepreneurship Accelerator, it's very ambitious and transformative in its scope. As you said, Amanda, the magnitude it serves, trying to bring several UN agencies together to reach impact and have metrics to eliminate entrepreneurial roadblocks that women face, from digital literacy to legal reforms. The goal is to empower 10 million women entrepreneurs over the next 10 years, helping them, as we know, you've said they've been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. And so this is needed now more than ever. We created it before we knew about COVID-19, but its need is even greater now. Access, we want any woman to access this across the world without regard to her financial ability to access the program or the country that she operates in. This is free and available to any woman in any country. And we're working to remove barriers. So education, access to funding, which we heard about, which is so critical, participation, working through things like gender responsive procurement that we heard from Coca-Cola, and then finally advocacy for legal reform. And that's what I feel very strongly about, that companies that are participating today can place a role. Many of you have government relations or public affairs functions that if you can help expand their scope, and I challenge them to think about this. If you haven't seen the new World Bank report that's out about women, business, and the law, and an update in 2021, I'd encourage you to go through that because it highlights that while progress has been made, women, as you've said, Amanda, still only have 3/4 of the legal rights of men on average around the world. There are 10 countries in the world where it's at a parity and a score score of 100 by the World Bank, but that's only 10 countries. We've got 180 plus more to go. And, some changes have been made in things around pay and parenthood, but there's still a lot more we can do and advocate for in areas like women's right to own property and inheritance and their mobility. And so there's a lot of things laid out in this report that highlights where the gaps are. And I challenge companies to think about where they can take a stand in helping to change and get parity across the areas that the World Bank measures in terms of making sure that women can really achieve their potential as entrepreneurs.
Brilliant. And I think that's a fantastic call to action. And for those of you who are able, there is a session that ASU and the World Bank are convening later today. Legal discrimination against women makes no economic sense. Let's get to equal. So please put that on your list of to-dos. Brilliant. And let's hope that Target Gender Equality is able to take up that challenge in addition to the great work that they're doing with women on boards. Thank you. Nora, over to you. What is your challenge and your call to action from today's discussion?
So from today's discussion, first thing I would say is that the challenges that face female entrepreneurs around the world are still really huge, still enormous. And my call to action is that, firstly, there needs to be collective and deliberate action over time. And this can only happen when private sector, when government and civil society, each one of us take up our proactive roles, because this is essential for any transformative change to be realized. As I look at private sector, women touch every aspect of our business, for instance, and private sector needs to embed women's economic empowerment within its own strategic imperatives and its commercial efforts. When I look at governments around the world, and we see here that there are still several roadblocks, whether we look at institutional and legal frameworks, whether we look at policies that are needed to enable women entrepreneurs to survive and to thrive as well. Policies to remove barriers to the startup, to the formalization and the growth of women enterprises. So my call to action is that we need to have or put in place collective and deliberate action over time.
Brilliant. Thank you. So important that we all come together and we can really make a difference. Thank you. Olu, your call to action.
Well, thank you very much. I heard Valerie asking about some of the things that can be done in their part of the world. What's important to know is that nowadays you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are products that have been developed in different countries, in Nigeria, that can be adapted and used in other countries. With mobile technology and fintech, a lot of people can be reached, and you can scale up very quickly, So my challenge, I choose to challenge the financial institutions and investors to take a chance on women entrepreneurs and to introduce innovative financial instruments to fund and de-risk businesses owned by women entrepreneurs. Because smart organizations invest in women. Actually, women are better payers of loans than men. I choose to challenge the women themselves, the women entrepreneurs, to continue to be resilient in your businesses and beyond. The boardroom is big enough to contain the men and the women. It doesn't make sense to play a match with half of your team not represented. So when men don't allow women to be in the boardrooms, we're actually cheating ourselves because they add value and they bring value on board. Thank you.
Love it. Smart organizations invest in women. And yes, we found the same thing too, that women were better payers. Now, I want to encourage everybody to read a brilliant Financial Times op-ed that was written by Sanda Ojiambo, the CEO of the Global Compact. And it's called Post-Crisis Recovery is a Chance to Address Gender Inequality. We know from research done by McKinsey that an additional $13 trillion could be added to the global economy with a gender-informed recovery. So it's really wonderful to hear the very practical advice and the very practical tactics and strategies that you are all putting in place to ensure that we have better economic growth for all coming out of the pandemic. I would like now to have the final word to our two entrepreneurs. So your call to action in 30 seconds from, first of all, Matilda, and then second, Valerie, and then I'll close with some other exciting sessions that are coming up. Matilda.
Yes. I challenge the government to legislate all affirmative action laws, which is very important because it sits in our parliament, and that's the only way that we can enforce the current laws. I will also challenge my fellow women who have gone through phases to succeed to share their stories with other women, to encourage them and support them as well. They must be ready to mentor the younger ones so that they can attain greater heights as well. We must catch them young and then nurture them from that time. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Valerie.
Well, I want to choose to challenge fellow women entrepreneurs who have been through this, who have embarked on that journey. And I'm going to use the words of the notorious Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Fight for the things you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you.
Brilliant. And I think empower women is a nice summary of that. Thank you so much. Now, our two upcoming events. Right now, there is going to be a session with Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed, Women Rise for All, Financing a Future Women, which will go into more detail on the points that Olu made. And then we also have COVID and the impact of gender inclusive sourcing that is with We Connect International. And those two sessions are going to be later today and very much expand on what we've heard from our brilliant panel. So I'm now just going to summarize your incredible wisdom. Hearing from DEBORAH, how important it is to have advocacy for legal reform. And those statistics from the World Bank are pretty shocking. And we know that it makes absolutely no economic sense. So let's get to equal. From Nora, hearing about the importance of collective and deliberate action. How do we bring together public-private partnerships so that we can also have the private sector advocating with government and bringing that lived experience that you all have to the table to ensure that governments actually are able to create an enabling environment and a level playing field to support the work that you are all doing to help women entrepreneurs. And then, Olu, love that challenge to financial institutions to help them scale up. So as you said, the products exist. How do we now work together to go to scale? And finally, hearing from Valerie and from Matilda, how important it is to support other women entrepreneurs and catch them young. So let's all work together to target gender equality. Thank you for a brilliant panel.